Yo, what up, what up? Happy New Year. I'm your host, B. Riders, my co-host.
J. Bell.
And this is
Final Thoughts.
Brought our homeboy, Lou, with us for this one.
Back at it.
Figured we'd try something a little different for the new year. So, our topic for today is, should white people be able to use AAVE? Let's check it out.
Why shouldn't white people use AAVE? Let me clear the room. Ever since I made that video, I got a comment surrounding the conversation if white people can use AAVE if done appropriately. Here is why the answer is not only is it unfair, but inappropriate to include yourself in a cultural aspect of a group, but not experience the trauma, the systematic racism, and the injustice that said group experiences. Meanwhile, the language and characteristics used by black people constantly gets ridiculed and called things such as unprofessional, ghetto, and lacks class, though it is natural to us. So it is inequitable because you guys exploit the black experience. Meanwhile, black people just exist and still get judged and denied.
Only white people actually get to experience the black experience without actually,
experiencing it.
Well, she was passionate.
Is that what they say?
Period.
She wasn't happy.
She was loud for damn sure.
She thinks she's the passionate one.
Oh yeah, it's like lightning. No, yeah, she was very. She meant what she said.
Mm-hmm. She said what she said.
Stand on it.
I stand behind it. I guarantee it.
Do we agree with what she said? Is the question, right?
Yeah, basically. So, how do we feel, Lou?
You got me.
It's a trap.
Whenever you talk about gatekeeping culture, it gets tricky. I saw a list. I was sent a list of like AAVE words, and some of them I was like, "Yeah, that's us. Yeah, that's us. Yeah, that's us." Some of them was like, so like the word zeitgeist is like the spirit or the culture of a society or a place or a people, and some of them were just zeitgeist words. I feel.
Yeah.
So I think like hella smart, hella dumb. That's like a West Coast thing.
Sweet! What about mine? Dude, what does mine say? Sweet!
So I don't see that. That's more of a zeitgeist.
Absolutely.
It is than it is cultural appreciation from a black perspective per se. But then there were things like but I'm saying though, like the DOE though. My friend in Florida was late too.
I'm saying.
That's some legible shit. So
Language.
you got something, bitch?
Yeah, just keep it.
So what did you feel like when you saw the list? Like, what was us?
Again, like things like D-O. I feel anything that is like a runoff or a part of like English language that we would have been made fun of or thought of as like dumb for saying that they now say because it's cool to say is what I'm talking about as far as us. Cause like finna, like Finna was only it was really like some country shit, but
It is.
I think that it's at this point identified more with minimally low income, which for some reason we still associate with black populations, even though it's not necessarily the case. Yeah. Like Finna or whatever like that is on the list. I think there's more zeitgeist, but there's an argument that like I never heard white people say Finna until
I heard it before.
Well, good for you. You're wrong.
Absolutely. How do you differentiate between, like, if it's a word that is kind of, sort of, might be affiliated with black people or not? How do you go about deciding?
It's hard because, like, the people of the brighter persuasion who are doing it, I feel like the issue that they're only doing it in front of us. So it's like I'm not around them and see how they talk about their family and friends and other friends or whatever like that. Yeah. So I'm not sure if you're doing it just in front of me, that's a problem. That's a problem. Yeah. That's a problem. If you're only saying fitna, about to, or son, or round, or whatever, because you're talking to me,
yeah,
or in meetings with me, or things around or about me, But around other people you're doing it, or at home you don't do it, that's an issue. And unfortunately, I don't know what you're doing. I assume you're not. You're not with, Todd and Wyatt talking about bruh, and maybe bro. I don't know.
Come at me, bro. Come at me.
But there's just certain words. You're not saying fitna. You're not saying dole. You're not saying any of those things in front of your similar culture, similar colored people.
So would that be kind of like code switching for white people? And would that be okay?
Yes, it is code switching.
Yeah.
No, it's not okay. It's kind of like that's our survival technique that you're using for fun. That's something that we use to navigate a greater culture than our own. Or I'm sorry, not even a greater culture, but a more powered culture than our own. You're using it for survival and to navigate that world. You're using it for fun, right?
Using it to fit in,
right? Off for fun. I said what I said. Like sometimes it's to fit in if you're if you have the
if you have like a few black,
but you're doing it because it's funny and like power. You know what I'm saying? It's like but this is not how you regularly talk, and you're only saying it because you think it's funny or because like I'm not saying, but I'm saying though to be funny. I'm saying it because that's how I talk. And if you're doing it, if you're just putting it on, appropriating it in that way, that's when it becomes an issue.
Yeah, so there's no way to really know.
It's hard to know.
Yeah. So why get so bent out of shape about it if it's like that difficult to know? Not you, of course, but
because people are still allowed their feelings, and triggers happen. There are, of course, more and less appropriate ways to handle those triggers. But if I don't address it, it won't change. So I have to be able to say, like, hey, I feel like this is happening. This is an issue for me. This is why it's an issue. But I feel like we also don't necessarily, because of things like people allowing that space, we aren't on the same page about who gets to do what. So they can't be. You know what I'm saying? I have Mexican friends who just throw the N-word around.
That's wrong, isn't it?
And when I'm like, that's not your word. There is a word that's just as negative, have the same connotation, the same history as the N-word for you and your culture as the N-word has for me and my culture. You don't use that word. You know why?
Why?
Because it's offensive to you and your people. But you want to use the word that's been used against me or my people or my race for generations. Without that experience, and that's where it becomes an issue.
I can understand that. For me, it's I don't like, and I can understand why the N-word has been like so prevalent and why people want to say it. It's because it's become popular to say it.
Right.
All of these other slurs, they are nowhere close to as popular as the N-word is to say.
Yeah.
So I can understand why a Spanish dude might be saying the word or come up or thinking that it's okay to say the word. It's because he hears it on the radio all the time,
right.
Or he sees us saying it, and it's a popular thing to say. The reverse is not the same.
Right.
In that regard, I can understand. I don't like the idea of policing language, like as much as it can be. Yeah. I can understand like people being uncomfortable with certain phrases that were used against them or that been used to marginalize. But when you come with words or phrases like sis or ain't, and you're saying that you're not black, you can't say that.
Right.
To me, that's an issue. To me, that's like, well, who are you to govern these people's language at this point?
There were things on the list that I was like, this is, again, more zeitgeist than it is black specific.
Yeah. But even, to me, even if you could differentiate, which we really can't, but even if you could, right, say, well, this derived from West Africa and this did not, right? Why wouldn't people who aren't from West Africa not be able to say these words?
And again, to my previous point, I think it's the fact that, like, you're only saying these words to be funny, cute, or cool. Like, you're not saying, it's not how you talk.
But this isn't the case with everybody, though, right?
Most people who are doing this, I feel like it is. People who are, because I feel like I've been in situations. I know others who are like in a professional setting where persons of a Caucasian persuasion again are using language they don't normally use because they're talking to me. With other board members, with other professionals, they're not speaking this way. They're speaking this way because they're talking to me. And I don't appreciate that.
I can agree with that because it would feel demeaning.
Right.
Definitely.
I know these words. I know these big words you use.
Absolutely. So don't talk to me like that. Just talk like that. Right. If that's how you talk.
Right, but it's not. That's the thing. Right? It's not.
But that's the thing. You can't say that for every white person, right? Because I know people who are down in the depths of Louisiana, and they sound like a black person talking when they talk, and this person is white as can be.
Well, I understand that, like
they say, "How your mom and them?"
How your mama and them? They doing all right?
And all of that.
Being submerged from a culture and being in that culture are two very different things.
Submerged in it and in it.
Right.
You say.
Right.
What's
so
the difference?
It's like Stevie Wonder said, make sure when you're in it but not of it. Mm-hmm. It's that kind of thing. It's like, yeah, I can grow up around it, but it's like when I leave that place, they don't know that. Like if those white people who are saying mama and them go to Wisconsin, they're not going to be looked at any crazy for saying that. I mean, only because they're talking like that. But it's just like, why are you talking like that?
But
you're not black.
How much of that is their fault, though?
Oh, I'm not necessarily blaming them.
Right.
But they should be aware of it, independent you're not aware. Yeah. It's like, it's one thing to say, I have this privilege and I use it and I shouldn't. Mm-hmm. It's nothing to be like, what privilege are you talking about? That's a totally different issue. And I feel a lot of white people operate that. I don't know what you mean. This is just something I say. You guys say all the time.
Oh no. I know.
So is that enough to say no white person can say this?
Muhammad Ali had that quote. It was like, if there's a thousand snakes coming at my door, and I believe that 100 of them snakes don't mean me no harm. Mm-hmm. Should I let all 1,000 of those snakes in, hoping that 100 came from the other 900? No, I'm not letting any of the snakes in because I don't know which one of the 100 they are. So I think it's that kind of thing. It's like if you don't know who to trust, then don't trust nobody, kind of thing. And it's an unfortunate ideology and feeling to have to live with and operate in the world, but it is a reality for a lot of people of color.
I get it. I just can't get down with the word policing. It takes way too much energy.
It definitely does. But I mean, those who don't do it, I know a lot of black folks who are like, nigga, I don't get this nigga.
No, see, I ain't one of them.
I'm not saying you are. There are people.
No, I'm just for the, I ain't one of them. See, that's the problem with us. We don't have a unified front. We don't. We enjoy, the white guy could do this. We should invite him to the cookout.
Right.
Everybody is wanting to be so inclusive when we don't get invited.
We don't. We really don't.
You know what I'm saying? And that, in that respect, it's kind of just like, well, fuck. We're divided. How do we get together? But then we got to go through. We got to police language now. We got to police what they do and
yeah. Jamie and B was talking before the show started about like Logic. You know what Logic is, the rapper?
Right. Yes.
Like biracial. And it's like him using the word nigga. Like, how would you feel about that? And it's just like, I think B was saying something about like they're saying he can't or he shouldn't because it's like you don't have the black experience. But like how much of that experience you need to be able to have before
tricky.
How many XP points do you need before you can
level up
and then that badge?
And then you're like white presenting.
Right.
So that's an issue too.
That's always
like if you are mixed but look like you, it's kind of different, But if you're mixed and look like Logic,
no.
It's gonna make people feel uncomfortable when you say, "Oh, what's up, my nigga?" Whoa. What you just said? Like, oh, my daddy black.
Yeah.
Your eye is.
Yo, I'm about to be black too. That's a part of
your eyes
that's part of my issue with that is that one, it's like you can't differentiate, like not even close to 100%, right? You can't look at somebody and say you're black enough. You can't do it because you don't know what their ancestry is. They might be blacker than you are, but you're gonna limit their speech because they aren't passing as black as you are, right?
And that could be the case.
Right. And then it comes to the issue of black experience, right?
Mm-hmm.
What is the black experience? What does that entail? So if I went through segregation and civil rights movement, do I have the ability now to say, you, the 16-year-old who's preaching about AAVE, your experience is not black enough.
I was thinking about
You
that.
did not go through the things that I had to go through to say these words. Now, do I have the power to limit your speech because of that, because of my experience, right?
So maybe it's about like how much you can relate, because while that 16-year-old didn't go through segregation and Jim Crow or whatever, there's a certain type of discrimination that they face that their grandparents didn't face. Because yes, at one point it was you N-words can't use this fountain. Now it's like the position is filled.
That's some cold shit.
Yeah.
But it really isn't. So they're facing a similar type of discrimination. It just looks different.
Yeah.
Like they
Yeah.
just changed. The game was the same. They just changed
Yeah.
how the board looks.
But that's
basically.
that's the argument that is being made, right? And that's the argument that you have to make. But at the same time, these people might not be accepting of your argument in the same way that a poor white guy might be like, I don't have nothing either. The system has abandoned me too. Aren't I experiencing like some type of discrimination? And you're saying no because it's not this specific
Right,
type of
because
discrimination.
we're differentiating
Right.
at that point the difference between racism and classism.
Right.
Like definitely, there's even in most places there's a classism of like rich, the
Absolutely.
upper elite rich look at the poor whites like they're just that much off of an N-word.
Yeah.
But like that same white person could leave that place and experience that. They go to someplace else. I am black no matter where I go. Where if they're lesser privileged, like a lesser economic person, a white persuasion, I keep saying that, go somewhere else, they can put on like they are, and they can be fine. But I am black no matter where I go.
Right.
You're only poor here. If you go to somewhere else that they don't know you, if you act like they wouldn't know that you're not that unless you told them. But I can't act like I'm not black.
So you think if you went to Africa, you would be treated the same? As
They hate us. I'm not even. They worse than white people.
I think that's
the white man.
I don't know if that's entirely true. I ain't never been there.
I've dated enough Africans to know they don't like us. Another episode for another time.
Man, this some more bullshit.
Fair enough, man.
Am I lying though? You ever did an African?
No, but I've had like classmates and teachers, and they do have this superiority thing going on with them.
And my thing about
they're
that
better
is,
than black Americans.
My thing about that is one thing to be old, because I feel like the same white supremacy that shows African Americans and Americans in general as like Africans being like, you know, with this belly and flies and shit. It's that stuff. It's that same system of racism that shows us as like all talking like juvenile and being on welfare and we're all 50 I don't know, whatever like they get. That's what to be over there and think that. To come here, talk to humbly, talk to me, talk to Justin, talk to Brandon, and see the intellect that we have and how we converse and how we associate and articulate, and still hold that belief. That's a willful ignorance that you're choosing to have at this point. And I can't.
It's hard to break that will for ignorance though, because
it's hard when you don't try.
Something even if you can try, it's still something that is ingrained in you, because there are people who've come over here and they've heard about the death rates and all how dangerous it is, and no matter how safe they are around you, they still don't feel comfortable in this country.
And that's a choice that they make.
Is it a choice for them to feel uncomfortable?
Yes.
In what way? How?
Because safe is an illusion. You can choose to feel safe, or choose to feel unsafe.
So they choose to feel unsafe. Yeah.
Yes.
Just how if we're in the hood, we choose to feel unsafe,
Yes.
even though we aren't.
Yes.
So
Like,
we're not safe. We're not unsafe in the hood.
Again, safety.
We are just.
Safety is an illusion because you can only feel it. You can never
So
truly.
there's no
absolute safety.
number or percentage behind safety.
You can
is what
feel
you're saying.
again. You can only feel
Yeah.
it. You can associate number to it,
No, absolutely.
but you can only ever feel it. It's never
Right.
true.
Right.
But you can do things to make yourself feel
Right.
more and less comfortable. But all you can do is control how you feel. You can't control your actual safety because the
No,
world is
absolutely.
crazy. New Orleans is crazy. The Seven Waters is crazy. You can only
So
control.
an African who comes here and feels unsafe is unjustified in their feeling of unsafe.
All feelings are valid because you feel them. But that's not make. But you can't. But it's erroneous to present your feelings as fact, especially if you can back it up.
I can agree
No
with
one's
that.
ever pulled up on you. No one's ever asked you anything crazy. Where you from? Why are you here? But you still feel safe, despite all the positive interactions that you've had. You still feel safe. It's an internalized racism that you're experiencing. It's a dissociation, if you will.
I don't know, because if you drop me off in Myanmar, or the Gaza Strip, I'm gonna feel unsafe.
But that's only from your feeling of uncomfortability because of your unfamiliarness with it.
So you're saying that even though the Gaza Strip is like an apartheid state, my feeling of being unsafe there is an illusion. It's not real.
Yes. It's only because if you
I disagree,
so
but I'm
how long can you be there without feeling like maybe I'm okay?
How long can you be there? I'm not
You
sure.
personally, if I put you in the Gaza Strip
Right.
and for a month nothing happens,
Right.
at what point can you be like maybe I'm okay? Or are you just always gonna feel on edge? And again, I don't feel like it's because of the place you are. It's more of the because you're unfamiliar with it, so you don't know the customs, what's supposed to happen, when it's supposed to. So that's not about.
That's part of the whole uncomfortable.
But that's how you feel.
Uncertain.
Because you're right.
are
So
new.
which are all
Right.
feelings, which can all change, which can all grow, which can all be proven wrong.
Absolutely. But to say that your fear is unjustified, to me,
Again, your feelings are valid. I cannot say you're wrong for feeling it. You can be misguided. You can be miseducated. You can be a lot of things.
Can you be justified though in feeling unsafe in a place that you feel is unsafe?
Once it happens, once you have things
So
that
until that bomb drops, your feelings of unsafety are unjustified.
pretty much.
Okay.
Why
I disagree.
if a bomb has
disagree.
never dropped here,
Yeah.
why would you fear
Even though you're in the Gaza Strip.
a bomb
Yeah.
has never
Right.
dropped here
Right.
ever?
So, if you were in Ukraine
Uh,
and you've never had a bomb drop on you,
I should have been
your
gone.
feelings are unsafe.
I should have been gone.
Or unvalid.
I should have been gone. If I stayed, that's my fault.
Partially, it could be.
No.
But that's why
I know we're at war.
That's why I'm saying
I
that
kn- because
I disagree.
because my feeling my feeling
Yeah.
has turned from a feeling of safety to unsafe. I now feel
Right.
unsafe because bombs are dropping all around me. I don't know if I'm next.
Right.
So that's
But it hasn't happened.
it hasn't happened.
So it's
but it
unjustified.
happened everywhere else.
Right. Just like
So you
a lot
have
of
reason.
crimes.
So you have reason to believe they can happen where you are.
Right. Yes.
Right.
Stop! You're just going around in circles.
So
Yes.
So now you're fixing.
I feel like we've come to an accord then.
I feel like yo.
So if you go to
Cause
the
now it's
hood,
justified. You asked me.
If you go to the hood and carjackings have happened all around you, but not to you.
Then yes, you should definitely be, you have a reason to be worried because it's happening all around you.
Okay. All right. I think we've.
Because the question you asked was,
Right.
how can it be if it's justified, or how can it be justified if what can cause it to be more justified?
Yeah.
And I said that if you have reason to believe it, if it's happening, or you see it around you, then definitely.
Yeah.
If everybody I know who's my complexion is getting shot by the police, I'm worried about the police because people that's my color are getting shot by the police. So I should be worried about the police.
Am I the only one who just noticed a huge tone shift here?
But it's just an illusion.
It's just it has happened to me yet.
That is wild.
Yeah,
that's the part that I was just like,
time,
it's an
gender, and safety are all illusions and constructs. We made it up, all of it. That's my final thought.
Just what are your final thoughts, sir?
I ain't really got much. Like as far as like us going back to the subject.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We went on a whole sleigh ride for a second.
That's how I usually go when we together anyway.
Yeah, right.
But if we really want like things to change, we all got to be on a unified front. That's pretty much how I feel about it. If we gonna, I don't think nitpicking, like, oh, you say ASF, like as fuck, acronym for as fuck, or ASL, as hell.
That's
what is that do? Like, what is that going to do? But it was on the list.
It wasn't. It was, yeah. I see.
It was on the
I
list.
didn't agree with the whole list.
Yeah, I'm just like, come on, man. Like, our time and energy doesn't need to be spent nitpicking certain things like that. So, that's all I got.
I have final thoughts on this. It's kind of weird to intentionally police language at this broad a level, because you have your camps of, if we're talking about African American vernacular, like, we aren't entirely sure about its origin anyway. The camps are like, either it was a dialect created when multiple West African people came together in America and they needed a way to communicate with each other, or it was something that slaves learned from their slave masters or their what's the other word for, not slaves, but indentured servants, right? Learned from indentured servants, and it became a way of communication. We aren't sure exactly where AAVE came from, but that's typically the two camps that we have right now. To me, I don't really care where it came from. The idea of policing people's language is ridiculous to me in this format. Like, you have people who say no cap, so a white person can't say no cap or whatever because it probably came from black people. You know, to me, it's stupid, and it ends up being like, we don't know what we're fighting for, so we got to fight for something. And we end up fighting on fronts that we shouldn't. We end up fighting on fronts that we should probably just let this go, because this isn't really a big deal. Like, let people say what they want, right? And here we are trying to police people and say that you can't say that, but what if somebody who had more of a black experience said that you can't say a specific word, right? Somebody, your uncle or aunt or whatever, or your grandmama who actually went through some serious stuff, real segregation, real Jim Crow. Like, they couldn't go to a school because no blacks allowed, right? And they say, well, you can't say this word because your experience isn't quite black enough, right? To me, it's, we're circling the drain here, fighting on fronts that shouldn't be fought on. And we need to find more productive ways of our time, in my opinion, anyway. What's your final thoughts, Luke?
I see what I said.
I said what I said.
I said what I said.
Well,
bars. But thank y'all for listening to our ramblings once again. We back, y'all. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Just got a little long, but hey, this is a topic that needed to be discussed or whatnot. So here we are discussing it. But y'all can see some more from us. Y'all can see more from our homeboy Lou. We'll leave his IG in the description. Y'all check him out. And I'm your host, B. Ryder. The homeboy.
Lucien.
Co-host.
J. Bell.
And this has been
Final Thoughts.